paint a house or a room.
Well, I got into. It's quite funny actually. I got into trouble the other day because we talked about doing stuff around the house, and she wants to do it all herself. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I work hard for a reason.
Yeah.
I want to pay a professional to do it. She's like, but it'd be more fun if we do it together. And I'm like, that's nice. It'll look better if a professional does it. Apparently, that wasn't the right answer.
Painting's hard work. I don't know if you tried it or not.
Yes, yeah, painting.
People think you just get a roller or a brush and off you go. It ain't that simple if you do it properly.
Painting is easy. Painting well is difficult.
Yeah, but to make it look good.
Yeah.
But there you go.
How about you? How are you?
Busy, non-stop. Nothing changed.
I didn't expect a different answer.
No. Business as usual.
Yeah.
As always, we welcome your participation. You can do that by calling the studio on 01733 602 133, or you can text on 07411 191 062, or use any of the live streams, which are Facebook, YouTube, X, or Twitch. This week on Wealth Made Simple, Kieran, what are we talking about?
The economy. And how broken it is. And also what we think are ways to fix it. But I think the first thing to acknowledge is I don't think the economy is as broken as people think it is in some respects. And in other respects, I think it's more broken than people think it is.
Yes.
And in this episode, we're going to talk about facts. There's going to be no political leaning in terms of, well, this government did this, that government did that, this government's bad, that government's bad. You know, the governments of both sides across the board have contributed to it, but they are not the sole reason we are in the position we're in.
I think if you talk to a lot of people, or look, most of the people that I talk to will say to you, both major parties are as bad as each other.
And I would agree with that.
And again, we're not talking about politics per se, but it links in with this.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
I think if you... I always find, generally speaking, that more people rely more on a Labour government to do well for different reasons, yeah?
Yeah.
I want to talk about business people here, by the way, entrepreneurs, just generally. They have more hope. And I think the start of this term here hasn't given people any hope whatsoever.
No, I agree. I also think that there is a massive misunderstanding. People don't understand how all of it adds up. They don't completely understand the economics of economics, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people say, well, the simple solution is tax the rich more. They've got more money, tax them more. And that's very...
It's simple, isn't it? It's we have a problem here. He looks different, she looks different, get rid of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Same in a different way.
Yeah, it's the same but different, yeah.
You know, and it ain't that simple.
No, that's very short-term thinking, in my opinion. Yeah, if you tax business owners more, then business owners are going to increase their prices.
We've seen it before. Do you remember with all those changes in the world of property from 2014 onwards, called the Osborne tax or taxes? What happened to rents?
Rents went up. Yeah. So you can't just blanket something. It's far more nuanced.
I think what's worse than that is you increase tax too much, people leave.
Yeah.
Too much is based on whatever someone thinks is too much. It's not what you and I think per se. They leave. And I'll tell you a really good example is Ireland.
Yes.
Very, very competitive. Look at the foreign direct investment over the last 5-10 years.
10 years, yeah.
In Ireland. And it's amazing because they've created an environment where businesses want to do business.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And businesses are doing business now.
Yeah.
You know,
And tax is just like any other overhead, Kieran. And if, let's say, I'm renting space from you,
yep.
and the location isn't that important, I don't have, I'm not a retailer or a restaurant or a takeaway or
Yes.
a pub or something else.
You're a service giver
Yeah,
rather than a retailer.
where there's footfall there and people come there, and I have to be around that area. I have an office or service-based business or something else, and you increase the rent by 50%.
I'm going to go somewhere else.
I'm off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight
Or
away.
even 25%, depending on the situation. I might say, you know what? I'm not getting 25% extra value here just because you've refinanced and then your mortgage costs are higher. Fair enough, I get that.
I mean, we've both been there and done that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know.
But I can see why you're passing cost on to me. It doesn't work. Just like that, business owners think about all costs,
Yeah.
including tax. And I think we need to get that right.
Yeah, I think tax is the biggest thing we stumble over in the UK. I mean, you look at countries around the world that have a much more simplified tax system, and they're thriving. And I mean, you look at the history of tax. I mean, the history of tax was never meant for it to be a permanent thing.
That's how you bring stuff in, Kieran.
Yeah, I know.
That's how you bring it in.
It's a temporary measure.
And maybe at that time, with the best interest and heart, they were told it would be for a certain time period, and then they'd think, this is bringing in some good money.
Yeah. Let's
Carry on.
But then you end up a country is like a person.
Or a business.
Yeah. You know, if I'm earning, £500 a month, I learn to live on £500 a month. It's not easy. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. I maybe have to, borrow some from the land masters or, the government.
Yep.
But I survive. If I then go up to earning £5,000 a month, I'll start spending £5,000 a month. By and large, most people do. It's very difficult to live under your means.
Diminishing returns in a roundabout way.
Yeah. It's very difficult to live under your means. Most people don't have the discipline for it.
No, most people don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they end up spending too much when they should.
But looking at bringing us back on top, I mean, I know we've been talking about economics in general, but if we go back to 2008, the financial crisis of the UK, I mean, it was a global financial crisis. Let's not make any secrets out of this. But since then, as a country, we've kind of stagnated a bit, haven't we?
We have.
There's been very little growth.
Yeah.
And there's been company closures, office closures, companies taking their business overseas, company opening offices overseas because the labour's cheaper, the tax laws are better, the investment, they get more bang for their buck.
The environment, yeah.
The environment for the entrepreneur is better. And that's kind of been a steady decline in the UK since the financial crisis of 2008.
And then you've had other events
Yeah.
since then,
Yeah.
which I think have made it worse.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you've just got to look at, global events that have impacted this tiny, tiny island. And there are so many things that, I think frustrate people because there's a lack of understanding around them. Like one of the biggest things and you'll hear it again and again and again. Why is fuel so expensive? Yeah. We keep getting told that fuel prices are going up because the cost of fuel coming in going up. But that CEO just announced record profits with his own bonus going into the billions of pounds. Well, if he took half of that as a bonus, he's still going to be richer than everyone else in the country. But you can reduce the 70 million people's fuel bills by £1,000 a year.
Yeah. and a significant amount of that price per litre goes towards taxes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Same with cigarettes, same with alcohol. I'm thinking about the things people consume on a regular basis.
Yeah,
It's tax, and that's what I think needs to be redressed. I think.
yeah, absolutely. I think the entire system needs to be redressed.
So, Kieran, where do we start and how do we fix it?
I think we start by accepting what the issues are in the first place and not burying our head in the sand. And because the second you understand the problem, you can start working on the solution. But ignoring the problem, and if you've got a credit card, for example, and you can't pay it back, so you get another credit card to pay that credit card back, and then you can't pay that.
Downward spiral.
It's a downward spiral. It's a vicious circle. Whereas if you acknowledge that, okay, spending that amount on that credit card was dumb, maybe I shouldn't have done that, I'm going to reach out to the credit card company, speak to them, set up a payment plan. I'm not going to be able to spend any more money on that credit card, but they will get their money back. You know, most companies will work with you on that because it's in their interest to not have the debt written off. It's in their interests to, even if it's a smaller amount, getting you to pay something back. So, but to do that, you need to first acknowledge that there was a problem in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing with this country in the economic sector is there are problems and we're not looking at them. We're kind of going, yeah, but it's their fault, and you're blaming someone for something and not looking at the actual problem itself.
You know why I think that is, Kieran? It's my personal view. I think, I know this is something that you're going to cover later on when you talk about different areas in the UK. I think there's too much power in too few hands.
Yes.
The entire country, when you look at it, to some extent, is run by Whitehall.
Yeah.
To a greater extent, run by the Treasury
Yes.
in the entire country.
Yeah.
Yes. And generally speaking, I mean, you've heard me talk about this a lot. I think education is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
And we should offer that opportunity to every child. But when you've got Oxbridge graduates going straight into the Treasury and then telling people like you and me and others who've been around a lot longer than we have how things work when they've never sold a bean in their life,
Yeah, it's difficult.
becomes problematic.
Yeah.
You've got a young graduate or youngish, and he's talking about, let's say, how we're going to franchise the bus service in Peterborough. He's probably never been to Peterborough. It could be a she, I'll say they. I've never been to Peterborough. And they're making all those decisions sat in a deep, dark room somewhere with a spreadsheet and what they know or what they don't know and telling how things work. That's the big problem. Fix that and you'll fix most of it. And this is partly why I'm the right day to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think he's doing the right thing, by the way. He is in Mr. Trump.
Mr. Trump.
Okay.
Yeah. President Trump.
Yeah, President Trump. And because he's created this new, he's creating this new department. We'll see what's going to happen, because I think there's going to be a legal challenge to it.
I think you're right.
Government department for efficiency.
Yeah. Government.
Personally, I think it's a wonderful idea.
I think it's brilliant idea. I think it's genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it forces you to look internally. He's looking at the internal problems, and you fix all the internal problems, the rest of it sorts itself out. You know, you talk about these Oxbridge graduates that are going in, and that the problem is, I can make anything work in a vacuum. You know, give me a property on paper that is worth £100,000. On paper, I can say to you, okay, well, if we spend £25,000 on that property, it'll increase in value by £45,000. And if we wait a year to sell it, it'll be worth £150,000. So that 125 grand that I have invested becomes 150,000 in a year. There's not many businesses where you can get a return like that.
Yeah.
You know, that's £25,000 profit. I then take all that money and do it again and again and again. In 5 years' time, I've got £1 million. You and I both know that on God's green earth, there is no chance that that is going to work like that, because there are so many little things that
Moving parts and
are
variables. yeah.
moving part. It'll take longer. It'll cost more. The market might take a dip and the house won't be worth as much. So I'll put 25 grand in. The house is now only worth £120,000. I've spent 25 grand to increase it by 20 grand. I've lost £5,000 because the market's taken a turn. I've not accounted for increased stamp duty. I've not accounted for, you know,
Changes in
wear and tear,
taxation,
changes in taxation,
other legislation.
any of these things. Now, if I say to you, we've got a commercial conversion that we're going to do, and we're going to buy for 250,000. It's going to cost about the same to put 15 flats in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the refinance will sell it for £1 million. But we're only doing one, and we're going to focus on doing it well.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get that right first. That's more realistic. And, you know, just for anyone wondering, those aren't unrealistic numbers, by the way. Spending £500,000 to make £1 million, yeah, it's not unrealistic in a commercial conversion if you do it right. Is it still going to cost more than I anticipate? Yeah, it'll probably cost an extra 100 grand. So that's cut my, but I'm still in profit there. I'm still £400,000 in profit.
Yep.
And I have cash flow. And that's the key distinction, is rather than trying to plan it out for 10 years and go, I'm going to do this little bit here, this little bit here, this little bit here, not account for any of the moving parts, and then be surprised when it doesn't work.
Yes.
I've accounted for one big thing and gone, I know what all the moving parts are. I've accounted for potential loss. So what I'm going to do is factor that in.
100%.
You know, and that's what the country doesn't do.
And that's then when you start having a disparity in terms of how politics works. And people look at the Reform Party again, but this whole thing's linked with politics.
It is.
The Reform Party is doing so well. But
Why?
when you talk to people, they say, but Conservatives, disappointing.
Yeah.
Labour, disappointing start.
Maybe it's time for a change.
Time for a change.
You know, and that is just the fundamental truth of it, is you've got a lot of people that are disenfranchised about both of the major parties, and they're not interested in people lying to them again to tell them that it's not their fault. Or when they turn around and they go, you know, we're going to do this in our manifesto, and then within a month nothing happens.
Yeah, that's right. So
I think it's just, yeah. But I think a lot of what we've had to deal with is massive amounts of money getting told to people that they don't understand.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
people talk about things like, you know, CEO bonuses and stuff like that. Okay, are you an entrepreneur? Do you understand what that actually means? Because it's not as straightforward as this CEO takes £100 million.
Yeah.
You know, on paper, on paper, in a vacuum, they take, but that bonus is still subject to tax. Has anyone ever told you that? What do you think the tax is on £100 million?
A lot of money.
And this is why the government will never, ever cap the amount of bonuses these people can take. Because the more bonus they take, the more tax they take. And it is... And
I think to some extent it's not for the state to intervene in the system that we have in this country.
No.
It's not to intervene.
I think
Until somebody does something which goes against
I think
the grain
there
of who
is.
we are as a country, or if it affects employees, like in the past we had pension scandals here, there, that type
Yeah.
of stuff, then it's right for the government to intervene. Other than that, you leave private corporations to do whatever they do as long as they're not breaking the law.
I agree to a certain degree. I think there is a certain point where you kind of have to go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of infrastructure there that needs to be paid for, and people are busy telling you that you need to pay for this, that, and the other. Whereas if you look at the average salary for people in the UK, and then you say, okay, it feels like people going, well, how much can we push them? How far can we push them? And I think that large companies, especially like energy companies and things like that, have an obligation to the people to not overcharge them for their services, because they're essential services. And as much as I agree that it shouldn't be, as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, you should be able to earn as much as you physically can. I also think that if I set up a utilities company and charged people, made an open ledger for my business, put all the costs of my business on there, including staffing costs and what have you, and said, okay, I'm going to charge you 10% over my costs. Right, so as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, I'm going to earn 10% more than the cost of my business is to run. If I got 100 people in the UK to sign up to that, I, as an entrepreneur, wouldn't be making much money.
No.
Simple economics. If I got 50 million people to sign up,
You're in the money.
suddenly everyone's bills go down. I'm still earning 10% more than, but I'm earning 10% on 50 million. Suddenly, I've succeeded. I'm a success.
Yep.
Whereas I feel sometimes that in this country, especially in this country, that people go, yeah, but I can charge you 80% more than it costs me, and you'll pay it because you need it. And I think that's wrong, personally.
So you think we should have more competition?
I think there should be more competition. I think that, it's easy to go, leave it in the hands of the big few. But when there's very little competition, the big few come together and they go, how much are we charging this year? How much are we increasing prices this year? And if you actually sat down and asked them, do they need to increase prices? No, they probably don't.
Yeah.
But they will, because they will keep pushing until people push back and go, no, we can't, no more. But that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
The danger there is we end up in a revolution and the entire country revolts. I don't want to see that happen. But that's also, revolutions are part of economics.
People are really fed up, aren't they?
Yeah.
We do things that we don't normally do. I mean, it's not part of our culture or values.
No.
To even complain and moan, usually in public.
Yeah.
More often than not.
Yeah.
And polite, courteous, civil society, aren't we? It's very un-British to revolt. But people are.
Yeah.
With how they are looking at different political parties, in a way, it's like a mini revolution.
It is,
We
yeah.
want this now. If that doesn't deliver, let's find a different solution. Maybe get rid of all of them.
Yeah.
And have something new.
I personally think that the biggest problem that we face, and we'll
You hold on
discuss
to that
it
problem?
after the break.
Yes, the good timing here. So we're going to go towards a very short break, and then we're going to talk about that and talk about the solutions that we think we all need to implement in this country to make it a much better place. See you very shortly, and in 4 minutes' time.
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for Isha Azan.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم بك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله.
Assalamu alaikum.
This is Salam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim Community Radio, broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Salam Radio. If you've just joined us, thank you very much for tuning in. And if you've retuned, thank you for rejoining. We're having a very interesting conversation. But before I do that, I'm your host, Shaz Nawaz, and I have in the studio with me
Kieran Bateman, Salam.
Walaikum Salam. And as always, we welcome your participation. In fact, we had a question come in, which I've managed to lose, but I know what the question is. So
Excellent.
I hope you know what the answer is, Kieran. But before I get onto that, as always, we welcome your participation. You can do that by calling the studio on 01733 602 133. You can text on 07411 191 062 or comment on any of the live streams, which are Facebook, YouTube, X or Twitch. This week on Wealth Made Simple, we are talking about, Kieran.
Economics. The economy in the UK, why it's broken.
No, I said we're talking about Kieran.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can do that too. I'm not very interesting though.
So you were going to make a point and then I'll pick up on the question.
Yeah, the point I was is accountability. That is the biggest problem we have. Because our leaders are not accountable. Except for once every 4 years.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 years.
And that's a problem. If I screw up in my job, I get fired. There is a direct, immediate consequence.
Further, if you do it royally and you cost money and you were stupid about what you did, they're coming for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or you come to some arrangement and make good what you've done wrong.
Yeah. Or, in an extreme case, I really screw up and it injures someone or hurts someone, I can be prosecuted as a criminal.
Manslaughter, possibly murder, depending on if
depending on what industry you work in.
Yeah.
But the point is, there is a consequence, a direct, visceral, immediate consequence to my actions. When we're talking about the people that manage our economy overall, if they screw up, oh, really sorry, guys, screwed that up. I'll see you. I'll see you at work tomorrow. Yeah. We'll see you tomorrow, buddy. I mean, these things happen.
Let's start a new spreadsheet.
Everyone makes mistakes. We'll start fresh tomorrow. I'm sorry, what? There needs to be immediate accountability. If someone screws up at that level, it is the highest level of work in the UK.
How important do you think? I think you're right. And I agree with that. And that's a sentiment of most people out there, generally speaking. When they look at the money wasted on some of the initiatives that have taken place the last 4 or 5 years, HS2 is the most common one that people talk about, to me at least anyway.
Track and trace.
Yep.
Why did you invent track and trace when it already existed?
I think it cost 23 billion, didn't it?
Yeah. But what was the consequence of it not working?
Yeah.
There wasn't one.
No, there was no.
There was a half-hearted apology. Oh yeah, we've wasted 23 billion. And I'm just going to take a second to put billion into perspective. 1 million seconds is 12 days. 1 billion seconds is 32 years.
I'm going to ask you how much is a trillion. When Musk becomes a trillion, the first trillion, I think.
In 2027, they reckon.
Yeah.
I think he'll do it sooner.
I think he's on 430 billion now.
I think he'll do it sooner because of the next 6 months, personally. But you want to know how many seconds a trillion is? 35,000 years.
A lot, isn't it?
It's a huge amount.
There's a huge difference between a million and a billion.
Yeah, massive difference.
Said, which most people don't understand. And that's fine because people don't see that kind of money or don't work with that.
If you have £200,000 of debt, you are still closer to being a millionaire than a billionaire is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, with a question come in, but before we do that, just to share your views and my views. Again, something which I've heard a lot is we should have more business people running the world of politics, the government, MPs. What's your view on that?
Absolutely, yes. I think in this day and age, a country is a business. Our country is our business. And it needs to be run as a business. It needs to have profit loss. It needs to be trying to get into profit. It needs to be thinking about the welfare of its staff, or people in this case. And, there needs to be things put in place to protect those people, but there needs to be consequential actions for everyone at all levels. Doesn't matter whether you are the CEO. If a CEO of a company makes a bad decision and that company ends up going bust, then okay, the staff pay the consequence.
Well, around about the way the Prime Minister is CEO
Exactly.
of GBPLC.
And that's my point. But if you own companies, if you screw up and those companies lose money to the point that there is no money in the coffers, that company shuts. And your staff are out of work. You're being chased for money, for liquidation, for you are blacklisted from certain industries. Yeah, there are massive consequences to you. If you succeed, your staff get paid better, their lives improve, your life improves by proxy. You work hard, everything. Rising tide raises all ships around you.
Yeah. The question that came in was, can one start a business with zero investment?
Yes. Short answer, yes. So I've, as of the beginning of this year, started a new company.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's got no money in it. It's had no investment. And it's not offering a service, and it's not selling anything. I'm doing it in my spare time, and I reckon if I'm sensible about it and I put the work in 6 months, it will be making money. And all I've got to put into it is my time.
And that is also an investment, but I guess the question here was hard cash.
I'm assuming hard cash.
Yeah.
Now, I'm using the skills I already have. I'm using the knowledge I already have, and I'm using, bits of equipment that I already have. Other than that,
Yeah. If you're buying and selling something, you'll always have to buy stuff.
yeah,
Or, and if you're smart, right, you could forward sell.
yeah,
But that's a conversation for a different day. But if you're, as you said, you've got some expertise that you're selling,
yeah.
then the investment's minimal to get you going. And then once you get going, we've done so many episodes on sales, marketing, that
Yeah.
type of stuff,
I mean,
leverage.
I was.
But yeah, I agree with you. The answer is yes, you can.
Yeah. Over the
Depending
Christmas,
on type of business.
Over the Christmas period, I spoke to a university who wanted me to go in and do some talks for them on my areas of expertise on technical things. And they've said, they'd be happy to have me. Can I talk about what they want me to talk about? Yes, I can. Can I do the can I build a lesson plan? Absolutely, I can.
Peterborough or elsewhere?
Elsewhere,
Okay.
down in London.
Okay.
And they said, okay, the first time you do this, we're obviously not going to pay you because we need to gauge whether or not you're actually any good, or if you do know what you're talking about, because you might just be chancing it.
Professor Kieran Bateman.
Yeah, no. But if we like what you do, the students react positively, people learn something, then, we'll get you back and we can start talking about financial recompense. Now, all that's taken me is my time. So between our last episode and this episode, that's two things I've done. In amongst my normal work, in amongst
Eating, sleeping, celebrating Christmas, New Year, going to Dubai, and everything else that happens.
Doing all of that. So I've done, between our last episode and this episode, I've done 4 different jobs, which are my regular jobs. I freelance and I bounce around. So I've worked for 4 different companies. I've started 2 new companies, and I'm looking at building those. I'm looking to get involved in those.
Good.
Neither of those things are costing me any money. They're just costing me time and my expertise.
Yeah.
So yes, that's the long answer of the short version.
Yeah. You can start a business depending on what business it is.
Yeah.
But you can start a business, which relies at the start, I guess, heavily on you.
Yeah.
And
What
then-
are you an expert?
Then you can build it up. Or you can start a business and get an investor.
Yeah.
So if the question is, can I start a business with zero investment from me? Yes, you can, because we're going to be talking a lot about this when we talk about leverage.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
there are different ways to skin a cat, so to speak. So I think coming back to
Economics.
and the economy, productivity has been a challenge for us, hasn't it, Kieran?
Yeah, a lot. And this is everything all ties together. You know, tax is too high, the cost to run a business is too high, the cost to develop is too high, the cost. Yeah, so the governments, I say plural because doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, have implemented such high costs that it costs a lot of money to build something in the UK. Well, if it costs me £100 to build a product in the UK, but I can import that and have it built in everyone's favourite place to get stuff done, China, and it costs me £25 per unit, 75% saving.
Yep.
And that includes shipping it back to the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is the incentive for me to build in the UK?
Yeah.
There isn't one.
Long-standing argument, isn't it?
Yeah, massively.
And I mean, we always compare ourselves to the European Union or countries within Europe because obviously we're so close to them geographically and culturally and so on and so forth, like every other country does in their region.
Yeah.
And we're about 20% behind or lower than France and Germany.
But they've got they've got when you look at their setup.
Yeah.
So across Europe, the majority of people rent their properties; they don't own them, and so because of that, rents are cheaper. Utilities are government owned,
Yeah.
and subsidised.
Which I'm a huge fan of, by the way.
A massive fan of.
Yeah.
It's either you want an immense amount of competition to keep the prices low, or you need no competition and it needs to be governmental owned.
Yeah.
They're public transport, publicly owned.
Yep.
Their prices are so much cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, the taxes, the import taxes they impart.
Kieran, it costs you less to go from here to Spain or Morocco
Yeah.
than it is to go from here to London.
Yes.
On a good day, it's cheaper to get to Spain
Yeah.
or Morocco or other parts where you got EasyJet.
So
right now, so on and so
over
forth.
Christmas, I had to take a train into London from Peterborough. Cost me £80, single, one direction.
Yeah. I went to Preston last week and single because from there I was going down to King's Cross the next day. I think £85.
Exactly. And yet you can get like you say, a plane over to Morocco for £50.
Yeah. So increase and improve productivity
Yes.
is I think a huge one. Government debt, which is ginormous.
We need to write that off. We need to find a way to make profit and write that off.
or work on paying it off
Yeah.
by
that's
bringing
what I
more
mean.
taxes in, by changing the environment,
Yes.
economic, business and environment. We were going to talk about inflation, but I think we have previously talked about that.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's had a huge impact
Yeah.
on people's personal confidence. I think Keir Starmer talked about AI recently.
Yeah. Yeah. He did.
And he was right too. I've always said that's the next big wave.
It really is.
We should be leading from the front.
We should be, but we're not.
We're not. But the big one that I want to talk about next, if that's okay with you, Kieran, because I know we've got quite a few different things here in terms of NHS and public sector and debt, housing crisis. But for me, the most important one really, is devolution.
Yes.
Because I always say to people, and sometimes I think some people think I'm exaggerating, but London is a different country.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Economically.
Economically, it's a completely different place.
You know?
Yeah.
Compared to the rest of the UK.
Yes. Yeah.
And we need to change that around to some extent. And London's marvellous, brilliant, good and financial hub, so on and so forth. But all the places that are being left behind, they are being left behind,
Yeah. Massively.
we need to shift power.
I think also that in amongst that, there is too much us and them. You know, and it's true of London and the rest of the UK, because there's London and then there's the rest of the UK. Yeah, that statement alone proves that there's an us and them mentality.
It's everywhere, though. I mean, if people pay enough attention, I'm generalizing it to some extent, but Londoners think, talk, dress, behave differently compared to everybody else in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's obvious if we spend enough time there.
Doing the London walk.
Yeah. And that's fine, because big cities, and you get the same in California to some extent. You get the same in New York, so on and so forth. I get that, but I think we built the entire country to some extent around London, and not everybody lives in London. That's a huge surprise for Westminster. They don't. And I'll tell you a fantastic example I'm going to share too, because I think this is a wonderful country, and we can make it great again.
I see what you did there.
Bring the great back into Britain. Well, today seems to be an appropriate day to say that.
No, I agree.
As cliche as it may be. And we have lots of opportunity. The problem is this, Kieran. If you have a second-hand car or any other item, and you're obviously better on IT equipment than I am, and sometimes there's a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
If you fix it, it lasts you longer.
Yeah.
If you don't fix it, something else goes, something else goes, something else goes, something else goes. Boy, you know, this is dead.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is our opportunity to fix the country. If we don't, you go so down the pecking order, it's very hard to come back. Very, very hard to come back. And that's the danger here. But the good news is we have opportunity, lots of opportunity. So and there's two countries who I'm fascinated by in terms of economic development. Whether people like them or not personally is a different thing. China.
Yeah. Oh, massively.
And we talked about China on a previous podcast. But Deng Xiaoping started the whole thing.
Yep.
And in a way, the forefather of kickstarting the Chinese economy. And you know, one of the things he did, he found the brightest and smartest people. I don't remember how many of them there were, and put them all in a room, and then said, 12 of you are going to help me pretty much
rebuild
build
China.
Pick 12, and then said, here you go, you're responsible, Kieran, for the northeast. Chaz, you're responsible for east of England. Somebody else, southwest, so on and so forth. Said, I am going to delegate
all of my power to you.
You crack on, and you fix that region. Okay? And then you come back, report regularly.
Yeah,
and we talk, discuss. And when you're doing something really good, share it with the other 11. It's a mastermind, basically. The other 11. And when something goes badly wrong, okay,
you share that with the other 11.
So they don't do it. Okay, off you go, and you've got the same power as I have got through me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's the only thing, 'cause as you know, you want to talk about this as well. There's never one thing.
No.
But I mean, a huge difference. I'm telling you.
Oh,
we should do the same here. But a much smaller country, we can. I mean, just taking China, one could argue 40 years, or thereabouts, possibly 50. We can do it in 5. I know Keir Starmer said 10 years. We can do it in 5.
We could.
We can do it in 5.
But you've got to get the right people in the right positions.
Second,
there's got to be accountability.
Yeah. Second one, Singapore.
Okay, yeah.
More recently, by the way, Dubai in a different way.
Yeah.
But Dubai is a different example because they have the tax system is very, very, very different to.
Well, the tax system's recently changed.
I know.
You know, I love Dubai.
Yeah, I love it too. For 14 hours, and he said Lee Kuan Yew, LKY, And he said, we're going to transform Singapore and we're going to make it into a business hub and people are going to come and invest money here and it's going to be the best place to live, so on and so forth. And I think it was 3 or 4 things that he changed. The first one he said, everybody's going to speak English. And you can imagine how that went down like a lead balloon. We can't speak our own language, Malay or Mandarin or combination. Okay. He said, no, if we're going to be international, we're going to speak
The international language.
Number 2, we're going to bring experts, the best experts from all around the world, whoever they are. Because many people say, oh, it's homegrown, we want people here, we've got loads of experts. He said, no, we want the biggest, the best, and the brightest.
Yes.
So we're going to import them here, and then they're going to help us improve, like you said, a rising tide raises all boats. And the third one, which is a problem in pretty much every country, is that we're going to be an anti-corruption government.
Yes.
And he did that, by the way, because I think he fired one of his key allies.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Out you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're corrupt. Get out.
And that was the person who funded his first election campaign.
Yes. Yeah.
And look at Singapore today.
It's a phenomenal place. Yeah. Unrecognizable from what it was.
Yeah. And it ain't that hard.
But I also think that something that both these stories have in common, which is very difficult to do in today's climate, is they ran those divisions, they ran their governments as a meritocracy.
Yeah.
You didn't get a position just because of who you knew or what colour your skin was or what sex you were, what rate.
Yeah, mate, so you went to university together or something else. Or...
Do you know, there was that. I don't care who you are. Are you the best person for the job?
Yeah.
You are? Excellent. You have the job.
Do it. Yeah.
Oh, but this means that you've hired 12 Chinese men. Don't care. They're the best people for the job.
Or you're Labour and you hired a Conservative.
Who cares? Best person for the job.
Yeah.
And this I think is also something else that we are lacking in this country is everything should be a meritocracy. It should be the best person for the job.
Yep.
I don't care who you are. And I do think there is situational bias. Yeah, there absolutely is. And I think the quickest and
unconscious bias. Yeah,
unconscious bias. I think the quickest and easiest way to eliminate that is to have blind interviews and empty CVs. And by empty CVs, I mean no name, no picture, no self-identifying things. All you've got is a statement of facts about an individual. This person went to this university.
Yeah.
This person graduated with a first, an honours.
Whatever, yeah.
Master's degree, whatever. This person has done X, Y, and Z. They've improved here, here, and here. Okay, cool. So now we get onto a video interview with a digital interview with them over, Teams or something like that, and we don't see them on the camera, and there's voice distortion. So I'm speaking what essentially amounts to sounds like a robot, so they can give me their genuine answers. But if you do that, you eliminate all bias.
Of course you do. Because you don't know who you're talking to.
I don't know who I'm talking to.
Don't give them the name or anything else.
And ultimately, it doesn't matter who I'm talking to. Because
I'd even change the voice so every voice sounds the same.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Every voice sounds the same. Because then, when I go, actually, that is the best person for the job, that's the best person for the job. And there can be no bias.
Yeah. I agree. I think there's a huge lack of investment as well.
Yeah, there is.
And again, you picked up here in terms of R&D.
Yeah.
Wind, solar, so on and so forth.
There's so much
we just seem to be behind the curve, don't we, with all of that stuff?
Because we're worried about keeping everyone happy and not worried about doing the right thing.
And I think we've talked a lot today, as we always do. Best part of 60 minutes. And gone off down a few. But I think we've all opened up the conversation to continue this next week.
Absolutely.
I think it's been a very interesting conversation. It deserves at least a second episode.
I agree.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. and and next week we'll probably work out what we're going to do the following week, because it'll come up in conversation.
Yes, of
as
course.
it so often does.
It's the best way to do it. It's the best,
Best way to do
it. So it's interesting.
Unless there's anything you want us to discuss, in which case get in touch
let
and
us
let
know.
us know.
Yeah, let us truly know. It's been a pleasure coming back to do our first show this year. Many more to come. Thank you for joining. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Take
Stay
care for now.
tuned to
Bye bye.
Salam